You know, I like to think I like to bash conservatives and liberals alike. Uh, I mean, it's so frustrating to hear the guys that say they're for one thing. It's like this video I did here a while back called being for something in the abstract. People think they're for something, but the policies they pursue are detrimental to the exact goals that they pretend to espouse. So, conservatives always act like they understand economics, the free markets, and individual property rights, and capitalism, and all this different kind of stuff. So I hear this conservative guy the other day blaming the price of oil on the speculators. And it's so ridiculous. Let me talk to you about how oil futures work. The price you hear quoted for oil is what they call a front month contract for future purchases. This is just a contract that says right now, today, we're going to agree to a purchase price for delivery in the future. That means, let's say this is May, that means in August. And say in August, I'll buy 100,000 barrels of oil from you at $128 per barrel. Okay, you can get that right now. And large purchasers of oil use this because between now and August, the price could go to $135. Okay, and so they'll be willing to pay $128 for it right now, guarantee they can lock that in. Now, of course, it doesn't seem very likely right now, but between now and August, the price of oil could go down, and they'll actually will have overpaid in August. But what happens is that this allows companies to buy at an even level rather than being subject to the fluctuations of the market. And so it's a profitable and desirable arrangement for them. So what is profitable or desirable about the other end of it? Oil producers, for the most part, and many producers, for the most part, don't go out and directly sell their product to the public or to their end consumer. It passes through a series of hands that are better at delivering it to the customer than the actual mass producer themselves. So in the oil markets, this is handled through the speculators. A person, an entrepreneur, holds a contract, and they will actually, if this contract is not given to somebody else, and we'll get that in a minute, but if this contract is actually executed, and millions of them are all the time, the holder of the contract will receive delivery from the oil company and will turn around and deliver that oil to the final end user, like johnebii is a big energy provider in our area, for example. Now, what happens with the futures contract is the speculator holds the contract, okay? And let's say our previous example, he holds the contract for $128 for delivery in August. Now, he is gambling that the price of oil in August will be more than $128. If, in fact, because see, the oil company is under no obligation to sell at that price. They're going to sell what the market will bear at that moment. Okay? So, say August rolls around, it's gone to $135. Well, the person that holds the contract has to fulfill his obligations under the contract, so he has to buy from the producer at $135 and turns around and sells to fulfill his contract at $128. He's lost money. Okay? By the same token, if in August the actual realized price for oil is $120, he buys from the producer at $120, sells to meet his obligation under the contract at $128, and he makes $8 a barrel. Okay, very easy. But the difference in what happens is that contract is traded based upon the future market value of the contract. And let's take something that you may be more familiar with. Let's take a contract for a baseball player, okay? The Texas Rangers in my area bought a contract, paid Alex Rodriguez $25 million a year, and then they decided they didn't want him. They traded that contract to the New York Yankees. So that is the Texas Rangers saying Alex Rodriguez will be worth less than $25 million a year to us in the coming years. And New York saying, we believe he'll be worth more than $25 million to us the next few years. And so we'll purchase this contract. So the original holder of a futures contract can see how the market's going. And if he believes that oil will be at 135 when that contract is set to execute, then he can sell that contract for, say, $132 a barrel. He can sell that contract, take a profit on what he set for 128, okay, and leave the ultimate gamble to another person who will win or lose based on whether or not it's above or below $132. Now, if the market has a consensus that oil will be at $120 in August, he is going to have a hard time selling that contract for face value. He'll have to take a discount on the contract. And this is what the Texas Rangers did. They couldn't convince New York Yankees that Alex Rodriguez would be worth the full value of his contract. So they paid New York $9 million a year to hold that contract. And so that's the same thing. I have a contract for 128. Nobody really thinks it's going to be worth much more than 120. So I would pay them $8 a barrel, or in other words, lose $8 a barrel to give that contract to somebody else. Okay? So the price that you hear quoted all the time is the price for the front month contract. There's contracts that extend all the way out 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I guess. And you can find them on the internet. But they already have a value that is predicting what the market will be at that time. And you can hold that contract or you can sell that contract. So the price you hear quoted is the front month, in other words, next month's contract, and what that contract is being traded for. So it can be purchased for anything, but it's trading at different values all the time. Now the difference in this and the stock market is that for every winner, there's a loser. It's a 50-50 proposition. You're either right or you're wrong. You're either above or you're below. It can't be like the stock market where 75% of the people may hold stocks that are going up. You know, you hear that quote sometimes in the business reports that said, advancers outnumbered losers by such and such. It's never that way in the oil futures market. It's always 50-50 because somebody is above and somebody is below. Now, we're going to go into a second video and we're going to talk about the social function of speculators and why they are necessary and even beneficial to large purchasers, but also to me and you in the energy market in our next video. Come join us.